One guy just ratted him out. What a collaborator. Yeah, oh, yes. Bonjour. What this boils down to is there's plenty of more potential zombies than there any amount of bullets you can stuff in your underwear. So guns are simply not viable. You may need them at times, but for other times, you're going to need a weapon that doesn't need to be reloaded. You're going to need a hand weapon. And for those of you who play World of Warcraft, you'll need a melee weapon. Yes, a melee weapon. Yes. Crowbar. There you go. He's age appropriate. Yes. Crowbar. There you go. What's your name, young sir?
Elijah Weber.
All right, Prophet Elijah. Now listen. Now, Elijah, you probably know this already, so I'm going to school these people, all right? You will need a melee weapon. Okay, now here's the problem with most weapons that you find on the market today, all right? Most weapons are display items, okay? They're marketed specifically to a target audience of young men who still live in their mother's basement, who put it up on their wall in the hopes that they will con a girl to come down and that will somehow impress them. Look, it's Aragorn's sword! Those are great to look at. They're not meant to be used. Okay? Now, and if they were meant to be used, because they're out there, some of you guys are like, yeah, I have a battle ready. No, you don't. You think it's battle ready. It's Renaissance Fair ready. You take your Ren Fair rapier or falchion and whack it against a tree 300 times and see how it holds up. Because if it is meant to be used, it's really expensive. And you've got a lot of things you're going to need to spend with your money, all right, than a brand new falchion. But the good news, how many people here are history majors? Jesus, there's like 5 of you. Which is fine, don't worry about it. It's not like it's going to repeat itself. Here's the thing about weapons. And the history majors will tell you about this later. Weapons were never designed as weapons. They were designed as tools. Because I know you history people don't, you know this, but the rest of you don't get this. Here's a mind-blowing fact. Wars tend to be fought by poor people. And throughout history, poor people couldn't afford weapons. What happened was they had to grab whatever tools they were using on the farm and bring it to war. Okay? And then they became weapons. Okay? That's the way it worked. Nobody ever invented the battle axe. Okay? They invented the axe. And at one point in history, in the wilds of Norway, Bjorn Bjornsson was chopping a tree, and Svensson Lundegaard said,
Bjorn, we have to go to war with the Western Shore.
and Bjorn was like, I don't have a weapon. Oh, Odin's balls. And he shot. And Sven was like,
Oh, careful, Bjorn, you hurt someone with that.
and Bjorn was like, oh, yeah. And the battle axe was invented. So the moral of this story is that the weapons that you find when you play Lord of the Rings online can be found at your local hardware store in a different version. You want a battle axe? Get an axe. You want a dwarven maul? Get a sledgehammer. You want a sword? Get a machete. They were not... Yeah. Nice hair. And these were meant to be used, and used over and over and over again. And they're cheap, and they're strong, and they will never let you down. So when you think of a weapon, go to your hardware store. So, weapons. Let's talk about the other pinnacle of American culture, the automobile. All right? People say, well, what do you want to escape? And people, oh, yeah, this is a Hummer, and it was a Jeep, and something, yeah. And what was that thing in Dawn of the Dead where they took an airport shuttle and they turned it into an armored personnel carrier? All right, first of all, I've seen the numbers. There's almost 900 of you in this room. How many of you are licensed mechanics? One guy with funny hair.
We have 2.
All right, okay, so there's you guy with the hat and Johnny Rotten in the back. And that's it. Other than you guys. Yeah, Johnny Rotten. Well, other than you guys, I'll ask the rest of you, how many parts are there in the average internal combustion engine? I don't know, but I do know it only takes one to break. And if you don't know how to fix it, it doesn't matter how elaborate your war wagon is. It's done. And even these two guys who could build a war wagon, because you know they're gonna team up, and dun, 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 and they're gonna build it. Here's the problem. Just like guns need bullets, cars need gas. All right? Now, I know there's at least a couple of you in the audience like, well, I'm going to have a Prius. Good for you!
Awesome.
Which means it's going to get twice as far before it runs out of gas. Okay? Until someone invents a car that runs on fear, ignore the automobile. Okay? Just use a bicycle. It is light. Anybody can learn to fix it, and if you get to a barricade or a river or whatever, just pick it up and carry it with you. Go simple. Because a horse. Oh, yes, oh no, a horse. Because horses don't need to be fed or watered or taken care of. They don't get sick. They never die. They never panic. They never break a leg. No, good. You do that. Yeah. You and Slicka. Just do it. This is what I'm talking about going simple and basic and realistic. All right, so we talked about weapons, we talked about vehicles. Now we got to talk about where to go. And it's a good thing I'm here because this particular part of the country, you are all at an extreme disadvantage. But it's a psychological disadvantage. And that disadvantage is you all believe that you're out here in the wilderness. No, I've talked to some of you. Oh, yeah, there's nothing out here. No, there's nothing. No, we're wilderness. No! There's no such thing as wilderness anymore, okay? What there is land where people don't happen to be at that moment. So when I say, where do you go? I saw at least half of you mentally check off your hunting cabin that you were going to go to because you think it's out in the wilderness. No! Believe me, when Chicago drains of people, when Detroit drains of people, when Saginaw drains of people, they're all coming here. And by the way, he was like, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're from Saginaw. They'll still stab you with a sharpened toothbrush. So the point is, get out. Go far. I mean, really go far. And another psychological disadvantage you have here is you're all like, oh, well, we'll just go to Canada. Yeah, well, you know what? You have to deal with the Canadians. And what we call the Great Zombie Plague, they call the Great Payback. And it will happen, because I know, look, we all think they're sort of cute and polite, and they use words like again, you know? Yeah. No, they are vicious, ruthless killing machines. And they don't value human life the way we do. And if you manage to cross that lake, they will be waiting for you on the other side with a hockey stick and a Molson. And they will form the great maple leaf curtain. And they'll be like, oh, how do you feel about the acid rain now, eh? Suck my balls. Canada. Vicious people. And if for some reason you manage to be able to beg or bribe or fight your way through the swarms of Canadian Urukai, where will you go? Well, I'll just go north. I'll go north of the wilderness. Yeah, you do that. And before you do that, I encourage you to read a book or see a movie called Into the Wild. Anyone seen that? Let's show of hands. All right, yeah. Oh, good. Now, so every other person. Well, those of you who haven't, let me just tell you quickly. It's about an asshole who goes in the wilderness and dies. And that's it. And why? Because he said, I'm young and strong, and I'm going to, he's like you, he was your age. I'm going to take on the world. And the world said, no, you won't.